This tutorial covers how to create a work order in ServiceFactor. In ServiceFactor, you create a work order from the customer file, which can be accessed from the menu on the left-hand side of the screen or by clicking the Book a Call button from the dispatch board. Use the search field in the top right of the screen and search for the customer by their name, address, phone, or cell number. If the customer doesn't exist, you can add a new customer by clicking the Add button. Once you see your customer in the list, click the Work Order link under the Create Work Order column. Verify that the customer's address is correct at the top of the screen. If something is not correct, click the Edit icon, which will allow you to make any changes. A quick view on the left-hand side of the screen will indicate if the customer has an open balance, as well as how much of it is overdue. You will also see if the customer has any active service agreements, the length of the service agreement, and when the inspection should be performed, along with color coding as to if the inspections have been created or not. Finally, you can see if the customer has any equipment on site, along with more color coding indicating if the equipment is still in its expected lifespan, is getting close to being out of its lifespan, or if it is time to be replaced. You'll also see if the equipment is or has been covered under warranty, and whether the labor and/or parts are still covered. To view history, click the History link, and you will see a list of past work orders. Selecting a work order will show you detailed information such as the call date, invoice number, invoice date, and the invoice amount. You can also see which pieces of equipment were serviced, as well as any labor and material that was applied to the piece of equipment. If the contact information is different than what is displayed, click any of the contact fields and choose the correct contact from the list. If it is a new contact, you can override the information displayed with new information and click the option to save it to the customer, which will add a new contact to their site. Select the problem code that best describes the issue the customer is reporting, which will automatically fill in the estimated time, which can be overridden if necessary. Enter a priority that you want to assign the call, such as emergency, first call, standard, etc., which will assist the dispatcher when viewing the schedule. Verify the lead source from where the call was generated, which will automatically track it back to your marketing efforts. If the customer has an active service agreement, it will be filled in automatically for you. If the customer has more than one service agreement, select the appropriate agreement from the drop-down so that the correct charges and/or savings will be applied to the invoice. Enter the detailed description of the problem the customer is reporting, as well as any additional notes or comments pertinent to this call in the Problem Reported section. At the bottom of the screen, you can enter a salesperson, change to whom the invoice should be billed, and enter a PO number if applicable. At this point, you can save the record if you do not want to schedule the call for a specific time slot, which will automatically add the work order to the unassigned column on the schedule board. If you want to schedule the call or assign a time slot that is convenient for the customer or that you expect the technician to be there, click the Schedule button. This will show you the available schedule and the appropriate technician's time slots you have available based on the type of problem reported. Select the time slot that you want to use and click the Schedule button if you want to assign the call to a particular technician, or click the Unassigned button if you want to leave the call unassigned but record the time slot you discussed with the customer. In this case, we'll choose the Schedule button, which takes you to the selected date on the dispatch board and highlights the time selected range. The call that we just entered appears in the holding area at the top of the column on the right, ready to be dragged to the appropriate technician. Please note, an alternative way to add a work order is by clicking the customer's name from the customer search screen, as opposed to clicking the Create Work Order link. This will take you to the Customer Details Center, which will be discussed in more detail in a different tutorial. Select the Work Order tab at the top of the screen, which will show you a list of all the customer's work orders and their statuses. Click the New button, which will take you to a blank work order where you can enter the details as discussed earlier in this tutorial. This concludes this tutorial.